Good morning, everyone. Today we'll learn about the introduction to ophthalmology. This clinic is about the basic introduction to the ophthalmology. So, eye is also known as eyeball is a globe. It is a wall. Its wall composed of transparent cornea, which is anterior one quarter, and the opaque sclera, which is the remainder three quarters of the eye. The conjunctiva is the mucous membrane covering the anterior part of the sclera, which is reflected onto the lids. The external appearance of the eye is as seen clinically in the image. So in the image you can see the upper eyelid followed by the eyelashes. After that there is lateral canthus and medial canthus. Then the conjunctival part which is covering the sclera and also folded on the inner parts of the eyelids, that is the palpebral conjunctival part. Then in the center there is cornea. After that iris and the central circular part, that is pupil. The coats of the eyeball consist of outer fibrous coat and middle vascular coat, and the third is inner nervous coat. The uveal tract is the middle layer of the wall inner to sclera. It consists of anteriorly a ciliary body and iris. The posteriorly it is composed of choroid. The retina is the innermost layer of the posterior two-thirds to three-quarters of the eye, lining the posterior part of the eye up to its anterior 360 circumferential boundary, which is called as ora serrata. The lens is it broadly divides the globe into two segments, that is anterior and posterior segment. The front part, the part of the eyeball which is anterior to the lens, it is called as anterior segments, which contains clear watery fluid called as aqueous humor, and the part of the globe which is posterior to the lens is called as posterior segment, which contains the transparent gel like substance called as vitreous humor. Then again the anterior segment is divided into two chambers by the iris, the and uh, also called as anterior chamber and posterior chamber. The anterior chamber is bounded by cornea anteriorly and the anterior surface of the iris posteriorly, and the posterior chamber is bounded by the posterior surface of the iris anteriorly and the lens posteriorly. You can see in the image the lens is dividing the eye globe into two parts. The anterior to the this lens is called as anterior segment, and the posterior part is called as posterior segment. Then you can see in the image there is iris which divides the anterior segment into two parts. Anteriorly there is anterior segment, and posterior to the iris it is called as posterior segment. The orbit, it houses the eyeball. The major function of the eye orbit is protection of eye and facilitation of the extreme degree of motility possible by the eye. The bones forming the orbit are: first is frontal bone, ethmoid bone, then the lacrimal bone, palatine bone, maxillary bone, zygomatic bone, sphenoid bone. These bones form the various walls of the orbit and the margins of the orbit. So first is roof or vault of the orbit. So it is formed largely by the triangular orbital plate of the frontal bone, and behind this by the lesser wing of sphenoid. Then the medial wall of the orbit, it consists of from front to the front backwards of four bones united by vertical sutures. The first is frontal process of the maxilla, the second is lacrimal bone, then the third is orbital plate of ethmoid, then the fourth is a small part of body of sphenoid. It is the thinnest orbital wall, that is the medial wall of the orbit is the thinnest orbital wall. So it is the most commonly fractured wall in trauma. Then the floor of the orbit is formed by three bones: the orbital plate of maxilla, which consists of the largest area, then the orbital surface of the zygomatic bone, and the orbital process of the palatine bone. So and the lateral wall is formed by posteriorly by the orbital surface of the greater wing of sphenoid and anteriorly by the orbital surface of the zygomatic bone. So and next is the orbital margins. So there are four orbital margins: the superior, lateral, inferior, and medial orbital margins. The superior orbital margins is formed by frontal bone, which has supraorbital notch. The significance of the supraorbital notch is that whenever you want to give the peripulvar block to the patient during cataract surgery, that time you have to locate the supraorbital notch, and along that notch you have to insert or inject your needle. Then the lateral orbital margin is formed by sphenoid bone and zygomatic bone. The inferior orbital margin, it is formed largely by the maxilla, and the small part is formed by zygomatic bone. And the medial orbital wall margin, it is formed by the ethmoid bone and the lacrimal bone. The apex of the bony orbit has two orifices. First is optical canal, and second is superior orbital fissure. The optic canal transmits the optic nerve and its meningeal coverings, the ophthalmic artery, and the branches from the periarterial sympathetic plexus. The superior orbital fissure, it is bounded by greater and lesser wing of sphenoid. It transmits the superior and inferior division of oculomotor nerve, nasociliary nerve, and abducens nerve through the annulus of Zinn, which is a common tendinous ring from which the recti muscle originates. So you can see in the first image, there are these are the nerves passing through the superior orbital fissure. There is inferior division of the oculomotor nerve, superior division of oculomotor nerve, then the nasociliary nerve, abducens nerve, frontal nerve, lacrimal nerve, and the trochlear nerve. The eye is slung in position by or in the orbit by fascia, one sheet of which the Tennant's capsule forms the socket in which the globe moves. Now the extraocular muscles, there's the set of six extraocular muscles control the movement of the eye. The four recti muscles and two oblique muscles. The four recti muscles are superior, inferior, lateral, and medial rectus, and two oblique muscles are superior and inferior oblique. So the origin of the recti muscle is from annulus of Zinn, which is the common tendinous ring. The nerve supply of these extraocular muscles is as follows. The lateral rectus are supplied by abducent nerve, then the superior oblique is supplied by trochlear nerve, and all the rest four muscles are supplied by oculomotor nerve. So to remember this, you can mnemonize it as the mnemonic is lateral rectus abducent nerve, that is LR6, superior rectus trochlear nerve, that is SO4, and the rest muscles are oculomotor nerve, that is third nerve. Now the insertion of recti muscles form an imaginary spiral ring around the limbus, which is called as spiral of Tilloch's. So, the medial rectus is nearest and superior rectus is farthest from the limbus. So clinical significance of this thing is that it is an important landmark during the strabismus surgery. We have to locate the insertion of these extraocular muscles during squint surgery, that is strabismus surgery. Sclerae is thinnest at the insertion of recti. So it is the common site for perforation during severe blunt trauma to the globe. Now to remember the insertion of the muscles, extraocular muscles, you can remember it as medial rectus is nearest to the limbus, that is 5.5 millimeters. Then next comes the inferior rectus, which is around 6.5 millimeters away from the limbus. Then comes the lateral rectus, which is around 7 millimeters from the limbus, and the last is superior rectus, which is 7.5 millimeters away from the limbus. So it is easy to remember. Now the movements of the extraocular muscles, eye movements. So eye movements can be uniocular eye movements or binocular eye movements. So the uniocular movements, eye movements are called as ductions. It can be either medial movement, lateral movement, superior movement, inferior movement, or intorsion or extorsion. So the muscles which are responsible for these movements are, first is abduction, which is outward movement of the eyeball. The main muscle is lateral rectus, and it is also supplied by superior oblique and inferior oblique. Then second is adduction, which is the medial movement of the eyeball, which is the function of medial rectus mainly, but also superior rectus and inferior rectus can support this action. Then the elevation is the superior movement of the eyeball. So the main function is of superior rectus in abduction, inferior oblique in adduction, and both both these in primary position. The depression is the uh, inferior movement of the eyeball. The main muscle is inferior rectus and superior oblique. Intorsion is the circular inward circular motion, movement of the eyeball. The main muscle for this is superior oblique, and it is also supported by superior rectus. The extorsion is the outward rotation of the eyeball. The main muscle is inferior oblique and also supported by inferior rectus. Now the binocular eye movements are called as versions. So they can be either conjugate movements or disconjugate movements. The conjugate movements, there is, suppose there is abduction of one eye, it is accompanied with adduction of the other eye. This is called as conjugate movement. That means the synergist movement is present, and this conjugate movement, there is opposite movement of the same muscle in opposite eyes. So bilateral adduction of the eyes in convergence and abduction of both eyes in divergence. So uh, it is again, then the versions are divided into either levoversion or dextroversion, dextro elevation or dextro depression. Now comes the eyelids and the adducta. Then the lids are covered anteriorly by the skin and posteriorly by the mucous membrane, which is called as conjunctiva. So the lids contain muscles, glands, blood vessels and nerves, all bound together by the connective tissue, particularly dense at the posterior part where it forms the stiff plate, which is called as tarsus. The various glands which are present in eyelids are: first is the Zeiss glands. It is the sebaceous follicle of cilia or uh, eyelashes. Then the glands of Moll, which are the Sweat's glands near the edge of the lid. Their ducts open into the duct of Zeiss gland or hair follicles, not directly into the surface of the skin. Then the Meibomian gland, which are also called as tarsal glands. These are the modified sebaceous glands. These are directed vertically and each gland open by a single duct on the margin of the lid. There are around 20 to 30 glands in each lid. Then the muscles which are present in eyelids are the straight muscles, that is orbicularis palpebrum, and the second is levator palpebrae superioris in the central band. The unstriped muscles are Muller's muscles in the upper lid and the inferior tarsal muscles in the lower lid. Now coming to the lacrimal apparatus. The lacrimal apparatus consists of lacrimal gland and lacrimal passages. So lacrimal gland is present in the upper eyelid, in the conjunctival, in the palpebral conjunctival part, in the tarsal plate. So from that the tears are secreted. The lacrimal secretions are present there. So the secretions, that is the lacrimal secretions, they get evenly spread on the bulbar conjunctiva and palpebral conjunctiva through the blinking process. After that, these tears, they come on the medial canthus where the lacrimal puncta are present. These are the opening at the end of the canaliculi, lacrimal canaliculi. So there are two lacrimal canaliculi. The superior and inferior lacrimal canaliculi. So from this puncti, the tears or lacrimal secretions, they get drained into the lacrimal canaliculi. So it is again, the canaliculi is divided into two parts: the vertical canaliculi and the horizontal canaliculi. The junction between two is called as ampulla. Then these lacrimal canaliculi, they open into the lacrimal sac. The opening between these two is guarded by a wall which is called as wall of Rosenmuller. From the lacrimal sac, the nasolacrimal duct, it starts. Though the nasolacrimal duct is around 12 to 24 millimeter in size, it is and 3 millimeter in diameter. So it runs outwards, backwards, and inferiorly into the inferior meatus. The opening of nasolacrimal duct into inferior meatus is called as wall of Hasner. So the main lacrimal gland is the main gland for lacrimal secretion is lacrimal gland, but there are various accessory lacrimal glands. The first is glands of Krause. It is located in the lateral part of the upper fornix, and the glands of Wulfrich wolf ring, which is located near the upper border of tarsus. So all these are serous acinous gland. The main lacrimal gland is the reflex tear secretion, and the accessory lacrimal glands, they provide the basic tear secretion. So this was all about the basic introduction to the ophthalmology. In the subsequent clinics, we will teach you about the history taking and symptomatology in ophthalmology. Thank you.